Yeah, we'll talk about 1960, eh? Frank Harper camped at Dancys paddock, Dirranbandi in 1960. He was married to Dan Kelly's daughter, Ethel Layton. Their sons were Jim and Arthur Harper. Old Frank's brother Jim was a well-known poet in the 1900s. Great old poet that I've liked. Dan's grandsons, Jim was a gentleman drover, always well dressed, and Arthur was rough and ready, but also a great drover. Anyway, I'll read you a verse of old Frank Harper, Jim Harper, I should say, the poet. Hebel. Have you ever been to Hebel where it blows and blows and blows, and Byron goats and bottle tops, nothing ever grows? The heat waves in the summer make the red plains shine like glass. There's seldom any water and there's never any grass. By Jim Harper in 1907. That's about Hebel, and that's how it was and is. Yeah. Anyway, in 1960, Don Johnson was a stock routes inspector at Dirranbandi and met again old Frank Harper, who was the son-in-law of Fred Layton, so-called Steve Hart, but secretly Dan Kelly. Even Fred Layton's family weren't told that the Dan Kelly secret. They thought the old man was Steve Hart. The sympathisers and the Kelly people knew Steve Hart had died in Calcutta. There were lots of Dan Kelly red herrings, but only a few Steve Harts about then. A Charleville drover needed a horse for a young man for the day, back in 1960, and Don borrowed a chestnut horse from Frank Harper for him. That afternoon, Don was talking to Frank Harper when the horse was returned, covered in white froth and lather, spur marks all up and down his ribs. The nasty young man was cursing the horse and drove his spurs into the shoulders of the exhausted horse. Old Frank Harper swore at this sight, and Don, very annoyed, took his stock whip and mounted the chestnut horse and proceeded to flog the young man all across the town common for his cruelty. The old horse found new strength to keep up with the running, screaming youth. Perhaps he knew. After 15 minutes of flogging, his shirt and pants were in threads. He was glad to leave town. By Don Johnson. So that's what you get in the Old West if you mistreat a horse. And that's how it was. Times have changed, I know. Thank you. By Don Johnson.